Hi, it's Ian from the Postal Hub podcast.
And Marek from Last Mile Experts.
And we are the Last Mile Prophets. This is the last word on the last mile. Marek, we're going to have a really quick conversation today about subscriptions and delivery. Now, when we talk about subscriptions here, we're talking about modern e-commerce subscriptions. So Amazon Prime is one that springs to mind because there's been some interesting research done by Royal Mail. And here are some of the key highlights here. Almost half of UK online shoppers now subscribe to some sort of subscription delivery service. That's up from 34% in 2019. Wow. And in an average month, shoppers receive 3 deliveries from a retailer they have a delivery subscription with. Marek, your first impressions on this?
Well, the first is surprisingly good. The second is a little bit underwhelming, as one of my American friends said once. You know, I'm a real fan of subscription models. So I think it's great. It will be really interesting to understand where the most of that volume comes from. My gut tells me it's going to be Amazon Prime, but that I think will be interesting. I love subscriptions. They're great for the consumer. And they increase revenue for e-commerce sellers.
Well, let's just quickly, they've got the categories here. It says 31% food, 24% shaving products, 22% clothing. They're the most popular subscription models. So very quickly, if you're an e-commerce retailer, subscriptions lock the customer in somehow, right? Is that the benefit to the e-commerce retailer?
I can't remember the exact data, but if I remember correctly, it's something around 20% more sales. And, you know, if you think about it, it's logical. You don't pay for the shipping. And a lot of the new data coming out shows that shipping costs are one of the biggest things that will influence you to choose one e-commerce seller over another. So yeah, it's all about that. It's about people shipping loyally with you and people shipping more with you.
Now, that's from the e-commerce perspective. Let's look at it from the delivery perspective then. If you're a carrier, a postal operator, a private carrier, regional carrier, whatever you are, what do those carriers need to understand about these sorts of models to help make them work in practice?
Well, the first thing is to really do it efficiently. Guess what you need?
I'm guessing technology and interactive delivery management?
Yeah, you need a very good one. You need IDM, and coupled with the IDM, you need out of home, because the only way to really offer it efficiently is lockers and kudos.
But when you say efficiently, do you mean profitably?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, carriers are also, and posts in business, I think, to make money.
And so I'll give you the obvious lead in here. Allegro and InPost in Poland. Can you just give people a quick snapshot of that relationship, because there's a subscription model tied up in all that?
Absolutely. And when Allegro started the model, the only way, without having the financial clout that Amazon had to make this thing fly, was to make it work with out of home. So out of home's highly efficient, very low per parcel cost, and very high first time delivery rate. So on that basis, they were able to offer it for something like €10 a year for the subscription, which is really low. And the only catch was, if I remember correctly, you had to spend at least €10 on your basket.
So if you look at some of the other things that have happened in this space, Australia Post had a crack at having a kind of subscription service. It's called Shipster. Do you remember this one, Marek? Shipster?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think New Zealand Post had Shipmate, which was a trial that ran for a little while. But in part, those programs were about raising the profile of e-commerce, increasing the spend of e-commerce. Could this be something that we could revisit in the future? Could it be that the e-commerce shopper might be open to having a subscription model, but instead of just subscribing to one retailer, you subscribe to a range of them? A bit like the difference between subscribing to one newspaper and subscribing to a news service that pulls in news from different feeds. Do you think that could happen in the future, and could the posts play a key role in that?
I think, Ian, you've hit the nail on the head, and what it's all about is assortment. The La Poste did something similar, and the reason that, as far as I understand, it failed is you didn't have enough assortment. So if you do it with someone like Amazon, you know you're going to have a wide assortment and it's of interest to you. Plus, you got all the elements of the package. With Allegro, which is a marketplace, you had, an awful lot of different products you can get. The ones that fail tend to fail because you've not got an attractive enough range of products for you to want to buy the subscription.
I think this is one of the things that we all have to get our heads around in our sectors. There are subscription services like, what was it I said about shavers were in there? There was a figure. Hang on.
Yeah, you did.
It was 24%. Now, what do we know about shaving products is that people use them regularly. So it's one of those things that you will need to have topped up every month or whatever it is. So if you subscribe to a service like that, kind of makes sense. Whereas, there are other things that don't naturally lend themselves to that kind of model. So how often are you going to buy something from that particular retailer? It's just...
I agree. It's got to be typically a good subscription model will work where you have a large assortment, where you have a mixture of items, including items that are in regular demand. That's why subscriptions, by the way, work pretty well for Amazon Prime with Fresh, etc.
And of course, Amazon bundles it with a whole load of other stuff these days. It's not just about getting free shipping or paying $100 or whatever it is, euros or dollars, whatever, a year for your free shipping. You might be getting videos or some free streaming, introduction to a streaming service or whatever it might be. So they are casting a net.
Kindle books.
Yeah, so they're casting the net fairly widely there. So perhaps, Marek, this is where we say to everybody, comment below, what do you think about this? Is out-of-home delivery key to making it profitable, especially if you have got an offering not as wide as, or if the retailer doesn't have an offering as wide as Amazon? What's the right price point for the service? Is it a service that includes a product with delivery included? How does that all work? And what role will the posts have? I think this is a key thing. Well, it's interesting for me at least. What role will the posts play as maybe an aggregator for subscription services in the future? Marek, any final questions? Marek, any final comments before we wrap up?
Just so that we've got something in the back of our mind, because I did a bit of research recently. I think, unless I'm mistaken, Amazon charges $119, Walmart $98, and InPost €10. So those are the sort of price points, quite different.
Interesting stuff. Everybody, comment below. Share what you think. Marek Ruszewski, thanks for being on The Last Mile Profits today.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, everyone.